This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Alright, and welcome to the GSMC Sports Podcast. This episode is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network, and as always, I am your host, Jesse Tapia. Alright, it is now Wednesday, I believe it is, and here's what's going on for today. Jimmy Butler no longer wants to be a Minnesota Timberwolf. So we'll be talking about that for the first segment. Second segment, we'll get into the MLB. Third segment, we'll be talking NFL news. And then for the fourth segment, I will be talking about anything else going on in the world of sports. I ended up getting a new iPhone, the iPhone X. Not the newest one that's going to be coming out on Friday, but the one right before that. I understand how these old people, as they get older, they don't know how to work these phones. I mean, it makes sense. I got this iPhone X. And I had no clue how to use it for about the first hour I got it. And eventually I will be one of those old people. And eventually I will be using older phones. Why? Because these new phones get more and more difficult to use. I mean, there's no home button on here. It's a good phone. Large screen. I was watching my TV on there. Full television shows on there. But like I said, very hard to figure out. I'm sure the younger kids who listen to this show, or for that matter, young kids who have this phone, probably know how to use it easily, like there's no problems. Me? No. It's very difficult. It's very high. It's very complex. And I'm still trying to figure it out. Either way, just wanted to start off with a little story. Moving on, Jimmy Butler. So, Tom Thibodeau had it in his mind they were getting the Bulls back together. You had Rose. You have Taj Gibson already there. Butler's there. Deng is there. And now they're just missing Joakim Noah. Turns out that band reunion won't be happening, given Jimmy Butler and Tom Thibodeau had their meeting today, and it has been reported that Jimmy Butler has requested a trade. I did not expect this to happen. I didn't think that coming out of this meeting, Jimmy Butler would be requesting for a trade. Am I surprised? Yeah, kinda, but not really. In a sense, like, well, I mean, we kind of saw this coming, but in a sense, we didn't think it was actually going to happen, I guess. If that makes any sense. But you look at it, and I think it has to do with the fact that a lot of these younger players don't really prioritize winning the way these older vets did. And even the players before that. I think a lot of these younger players are basically just coming into the NBA to, hoop, hang out with their buddies, and make money. Obviously, winning matters, and obviously, I still think that's the top priority, but I'm just saying it doesn't matter to them as much as it has to players before. And I have no problem with that. I mean, the NBA is about as entertaining as it's ever been currently. Sorry for those fans of the 80s, 90s, and 70s, but it's the truth. The NBA has never been better. So, like I said, Jimmy Butler requested for a trade. Obviously, there's been talks this offseason about how he doesn't think Karl Anthony Towns or Andrew Wiggins really take it seriously enough. And Jimmy Butler does seem to be like one of those old school guys who pretty much just want to play basketball and wants to win ball games. All right, all that other stuff, the money, well, not the money, but all that other stuff doesn't really matter. So, he gave his three teams of where he'd like to be traded to. Adrian Wojnarowski from ESPN tweeted it out today. It was the Clippers, the Knicks, and the Nets. Let's not forget that Jimmy Butler is also a free agent after this year also. So you look at it from a Knicks standpoint, it'd be a complete Knicks move for them to trade for Jimmy Butler. And that's not a good thing. I think the Knicks should stay where they're at right now. You don't need Jimmy Butler. Okay, because look at it this way. Porzingis probably won't be ready till about February at the earliest, I'd say. If you have Jimmy Butler there, your team is going to be winning games no matter what. You might not be very good, but you're going to win some ball games. I think we all know that Jimmy Butler, at least from his camp, he is interested in playing for New York. And if you're the Knicks, you can go a season where you don't give up any assets for Butler when you can most likely go out and get him in free agency. So you keep the guys there. And look at it this way. Without Jimmy Butler, you're not going to win very many games. I mean, that's obvious. Given Porzingis won't be there either. Chances are you'll be in for a high lottery pick, meaning top 5, maybe top 4, top 3 by February. And you tell Porzingis, you know what? Why don't you go ahead and take the year off? Let us handle this. Let us get another top lottery pick. And the next season, we're going to try our best to bring in Jimmy Butler and or Kyrie Irving. I mean, why not do that? Why would you give up decent young players for a guy who you could probably end up getting with a max contract next free agency? I mean, it would make no sense. And that's why I say it'd be the ultimate Knicks move for them to trade for him. So basically, you're trading for a guy who, I mean, probably already wants to be there next year. What's another year of losing to the Knicks? It's not really much. I mean, that franchise has been doing it for about, when was last, how many years has it been since 1973? For a while. So, I mean, they could, but it'd be a bad move there. You look at the Nets, I mean, you don't really have first round picks that you should be trading. So it wouldn't make sense there. They do have some young assets, but like I said, I mean, I don't think they're really in a position where you should be trading first round picks. You should be trying to build them up. I mean, you've gone, the last few years without one? That's a problem. And then there's the Clippers, and the Clippers make more sense as far as a team who should trade for him. Because I really don't see the Clippers having much of an opportunity to get him in free agency. I mean, I honestly think he's a New York Knick when it's all said and done in 2019. But either way, I mean, the Timberwolves reunion is no more. It's a sad time. And teams like the Lakers came up. And let's talk about the teams who won't be getting Jimmy Butler. So the Lakers. If you're the Lakers, why are you going to trade for a guy who's a free agent after the year? And again, I mentioned that Jimmy Butler has his 3 preferred destinations, but that doesn't mean that the Timberwolves have to trade him there. I mean, Kyrie had preferred destinations. He ended up in Boston. Boston wasn't one of those preferred destinations. I know there's been a lot of talk about Kyrie to New York after this season, but, I mean, why would Kyrie go to a lesser situation over in New York when you can win possible titles over there to Boston? And I don't think Boston's really sweating it too much. If they were to leave Kyrie Irving, I still think they'd be fine. But you want to hear that conversation, that's for the GSMC basketball podcast, which we'll be uploading later on today. Well, I mean, as far as the Lakers go, yeah, there's no reason for them to trade for Jimmy Butler. I mean, do you really want to give up Alonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, or Kyle Kuzma for him? I mean, they didn't even do that for Kawhi Leonard. You can't trade any of those vets that you signed till like December, I think. Plus, who wants that garbage? It's harsh, but it's true. So the Lakers aren't really in a position to trade for him. You look at a team like Boston. I mean, Jimmy Butler for a few years was linked to Boston for a while. Nothing ever happened. And if you're Boston, you don't need Jimmy Butler. I mean, that's just fact of the matter right there. Chances are, if you're going to get a Jimmy Butler, you're going to have to trade a guy like Terry Rozier or maybe even a Jaylen Brown type. Boston's not going to want to do that. And like I said, actually, I'll save it for... No, I mean, you look at it, Terry Rozier could end up being the starting point guard for the Boston Celtics next season. Why on earth would you trade for Jimmy Butler when you know Kyrie and him are going to be free agents in 2019? Makes no sense. The Sixers, possibly. You give up Covington, maybe Saric, first-round pick. I mean, that could work there. Right now, the Sixers aren't any better than Boston. I think the playoff series last year showed that. And as far as them in Toronto, I mean, I'd take Toronto over the Sixers 10 times out of 10 right now. Sixers are a solid team, but they're still a young team and they're not ready yet. So maybe you add a guy like Jimmy Butler, a vet who can lead the team going forward, be the guy there. It's a possibility. And I'm not sure when this trade will go down. I mean, we got like 20 or 30 or so days, I think it is, 27 days till opening night of the NBA season. So I guess we got a month to go before they end up trading Jimmy Butler. And I say that, but we all know the Timberwolves don't necessarily have to trade him. I mean, this isn't like the NFL where you're just going to hold out. I'm sure if the Timberwolves kept him on the roster, he'd play. Maybe you trade him around the trade deadline, but I don't think the Timberwolves are really in a rush to get rid of him. Like, yeah, he wants to leave, but he can't. So the Timberwolves really hold all the power here. And if I'm the Timberwolves, I'm not trading him where he wants to go. I'm trading him where I'm getting the best trade package in return for him. I mean, I could care less how Jimmy Butler feels or what he thinks. And as far as the Timberwolves go, I mean, they had a good thing going. They really did. But who wants to live in Minnesota? Who wants to play basketball in Minnesota? No one. So that's all I got to say about that. If you want to hear more thoughts on the Jimmy Butler trade request, go ahead and listen to the GSMC basketball podcast when it uploads later on today. Should upload around the same time as this podcast too. So that's all I got to say about that. Next up, we'll be talking MLB. So stay tuned and I'll be right back.
The average sedan is built with a steel frame and equipped with 6 airbags. Remember this the next time you see someone walking. Drivers, be aware. Pedestrians don't have armor. A message from the California Office of Traffic Safety. The average SUV has 2 blind spots, weighs between 4,000 and 6,000 pounds, and takes about 6 seconds to stop. Remember this the next time you're on foot. Pay attention, people. Pedestrians don't have armor. A message from the California Office of Traffic Safety.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. I spent that first segment talking about Jimmy Butler requesting for a trade. We'll see if the Timberwolves end up giving into their demands, which they should, given you don't want to lose Jimmy Butler for nothing in the offseason because there's no way he's coming back to Minnesota. I mean, that's just not happening. And now we will talk about the MLB. Had a couple of big games going on last night. I have a couple of big games going on tonight. Some games happen on ESPN. Either way, some fun news, I guess, or some interesting news. The Red Sox had their AL East Division title banner. That was on a truck. It fell off a truck, and some fans have it now. And I think the fans are willing to give it back if they get something in return. I never really understood that. I mean, why not just give back because it's not yours? Why do people always need something in return to give something that's not theirs? It's like robbing someone and taking their TV, and the guy knows it's you, so he comes back to get his TV, but then you tell him, okay, I'll sell it back to you. Like, what sense does that make? And I guess that's just the way things go. But people always need something, huh? So there's that. The Orioles lost to the Blue Jays again. So they now have 108 losses on the season. No way. Absolutely no way you bring back Buck Showalter after this season. No way. And if you do, then you deserve to just not be an MLB franchise anymore. Take the Orioles out of Baltimore. Take the Orioles out of the MLB. I don't care. I mean, losing 108 games is absolutely embarrassing. And it's honestly ridiculous. I mean, you're professional baseball players and you're just that bad. You're really that bad. I mean, isn't that just embarrassing? You can't even go and tell people, oh yeah, I play professional baseball. Oh, what team do you play for? The Orioles. Oh, don't they have 108 losses? So you're not that good of a baseball player. Like, you can't share that information. I mean, honestly, you can't. Maybe you tell them you're a professional athlete and leave it at that. But then again, they're going to ask questions. So I guess if you're an Orioles player, you got to keep that to yourself. Because you can't go and say, oh, well, I do this and that. I mean, your team stinks. Your batting average probably stinks too. Just a thought, like I said. But, yeah, we're kind of short on MLB stories right now. The stories are the divisional races and pretty much set up to see who ends up making the playoffs out of both the AL and NL. And like I said, we got a couple of big games happening today. Had a couple of big games happening yesterday. We had Red Sox, Yankees, and Dodgers, Rockies. But, I mean, either way, you look at it. Also, we had Blake Snell, who won his 20th game. Probably going to end up winning the Cy Young. I remember earlier this season he was pretty under the radar. People weren't really paying too much attention to him. But I will tell you this, he and the Rays are going to be a definite problem next year. And then we've talked about that before, and we all know it. But either way, it's always good to mention. Yankees are going to be getting back Aroldis Chapman. Obviously, they need him, and I'd say they obviously need him for the postseason, too. If the Yankees are going to go far in the postseason, you're going to need the bats and bullpen to get it going, because your starting pitching just simply isn't good enough to go deep into games. I mean, Severino isn't that great to begin with either. I mean, I know it's the Yankees ace and all, but he's been pretty inconsistent so far this year, I'd say. And again, they'll point to his win-loss record. I think we've all pretty much debunked the fact that win-loss records for pitchers don't necessarily matter. I don't know, just a theory though. I guess now we can go look at the scores from yesterday's games, because like I said, there's not too many MLB stories going on right now. So looking at the scores for Tuesday the 18th. Let's see, you had the Blue Jays beating the Orioles 6-4, like I said. That is the Orioles' 108th loss. Currently 43-108, 26-50 at home. I mean, absolute garbage there. Looking at the Red Sox and Yankees game, let's take a little bit more in-depth look there as far as the stats. You had Nathan Eovaldi pitching. I mean, he went 6 innings, only gave up 2 hits, no earned runs, had 5 strikeouts. But, of course, the Red Sox bullpen blew it. Brandon Workman gave up 2 earned runs, and you got Ryan Brazier giving up 1 earned run. I mean, it's awful how bad that bullpen is. Yankees almost gave it right back up in the top of the 9th. I mean, they struggled to turn many double plays, but ended up getting it done. J. Happ did well also. I mean, pitched 6 innings, gave up one run, wasn't earned. And, I mean, yeah, Red Sox ended up losing this one 2-3. They were down 3-1 in the top of the 9th. They ended up adding a run there. And then, like I said, the Yankees were able to handle business, beating them 3-2 right there. Looking at the other games, you had the Mets and Phillies playing pretty much, I'd say this is the most meaningless game of the night. You had the Phillies winning this one 5-2. Pirates beat the Royals in 11 innings 2-1. Not necessarily great when you're going to extras with terrible teams. Indians beat the White Sox 5-3. Corey Kluber with the win there. The Twins beat the Tigers 5-3. I mean, one of the worst divisions of baseball with a couple of the worst teams in baseball there. Nationals beat the Marlins 4-2. Steven Strasburg with the win there. Steven Strasburg's been in the league for a while. I remember when he was this phenom pitcher at San Diego State. And it kind of seemed like Strasburg was going to be the next best thing, but I guess he just never reached that elite status. Unless I'm just completely off the mark with this guy, but I don't think I necessarily am. You had the Cardinals coming up with a big win against the Braves 8-1. Reds beat the Brewers 3-1. I don't know what it is, but the Reds are able to beat these top teams in the NL. Rays beat the Rangers 4-0. Like I said, Blake Snell with the win there. I mean, he's 20-5, got a 1.97 ERA. There's absolutely no reason why he should not win the Cy Young. I mean, literally no reason. Mariners losing to the Astros 7-0. Mike Leake with the loss there. Cubs beat the Diamondbacks 9-1. Diamondbacks, hope you enjoyed your season, but you're done. A's continuing to drop games against bad teams. They lost to the Angels 9-7. I mean, the A's, they have no starting pitching. If they get into the postseason, I mean, it's going to have to be bullpen in this one. Giants beat the Padres 5-4. And then you had the Dodgers beating the Rockies 3-2 there. Not great for the Rockies. Not great at all. Looking at the games tonight for Wednesday the 19th. You get the Rays and Rangers currently playing. I mean, the Rays are winning that one 8-3 in the bottom of the 7th. The Braves beat the Cardinals earlier today 7-3. Twins beat the Tigers 8-2. Later on at 3 o'clock Pacific time, we got the Mets and Phillies playing each other. We got Yankees Red Sox at 4 o'clock on ESPN. David Price versus Luis Severino. I think there's a chance that Boston is able to win the division tonight if they end up with the win, I think. Blue Jays playing the Orioles later on tonight. We'll see if the Orioles can break their franchise record and go for 109 losses. Let's see. You got Royals, Pirates, White Sox, Indians, Reds, Brewers, Mariners, Astros, Giants, Padres, Cubs, Diamondbacks continuing with their series. You got Robbie Ray going up against Cole Hamels. Rockies, Dodgers. I think this is the final game of the series here. Rockies obviously losing 2 in a row. Not great. And then you got Angels, A's. I think the A's are currently 2.5 games back of that wild card spot in the AL. I will double check that right now. So let's take a look at these standings. And looking at them, AL East, you have the Red Sox currently 10.5 games up on the Yankees. I think they can clinch tonight. Indians win their division. Astros 5 games up on the A's, so the A's are just now focused on the wild card. Braves 6 games up on the Phillies. Cubs 3.5 up on the Brewers. And Dodgers a game and a half up on the Rockies. Still, a few series left to play for both of those teams, so I'm sure that the NL West division leaders will switch every now and then up until the final part of September. Yankees 2.5 games up on the A's for that wild card spot. Rays are only 5.5 back, so there's a chance. That's all I'm saying. There is a chance. Milwaukee is 2.5 games up on the Cardinals for that top wild card spot. I'm going to go ahead and lock in the Brewers as far as being a team who will be playing that wild card game. Cardinals currently in that second spot, a game up on the Rockies, so they're not completely out of it there. And Philly fans are like, "Oh, we're only 5.5 games back of the teams in our in the top wild card spots." Also, you guys stink. You guys are terrible. You guys are not as good as the Rays. Give it up. Philly's done. Okay, it's football season for you guys. Go watch the Eagles. Stop watching the Phillies. It's over. Get excited for the Sixers. Get excited for the Eagles. Stop spending your money with the Phillies. Season's over. Wait till next year. So that's what it's looking like right now. And the Rockies are kind of scaring me a bit. Okay, I've been talking down teams as far as with minus run differentials. They got a -5. Should I write them off? I think I might have to. They're 4-6 in their last 10. They might be frauds. Either way, we're going to wrap up this segment here. Next segment, I will be talking NFL news. So stay tuned for that, and I will be right back.
The average sedan is built with a steel frame and equipped with 6 airbags. Remember this the next time you see someone walking. Drivers, be aware. Pedestrians don't have armor. A message from the California Office of Traffic Safety.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. Spent that first segment talking about Jimmy Butler, second segment talking about the MLB. Now I move on, and we will talk about the NFL for this segment. So, little note, Minkah Fitzpatrick of the Miami Dolphins, first-round draft pick, I think 10th overall, whatever it was. Might have been 11th, can't remember exactly, doesn't really matter to begin with. He trademarked the phrase Fitzmagic. And for some reason, he's gotten heat for it. And we'll get into the reason why. But yeah, I guess he's been called Fitzmagic pretty much his entire life. That's been his nickname. And he's gotten heat for it. Why? Because fans don't think he's earned that nickname, and that's Ryan Fitzpatrick's nickname. Why do fans care? Just sit on your couch, watch the games, and keep your opinions to yourself. I don't understand. And that's not even the opinions to yourself. It's why do you guys get so mad over something that doesn't even concern you? I don't understand it. And you can check the Twitter to see fans getting all up in arms about it. I mean, if the guy has been called Fitzmagic his entire football life by his family, friends, and all that, Who cares if he files for the trademark? I mean, the guy literally had to come out today and say, when he was talking to reporters, that if Ryan Fitzpatrick wants it, he can have it. I mean, I don't think Minkah Fitzpatrick is really too worried about it. But fans, you guys really got to get your priorities straight. I mean, I'm sure there's more important things going on in your life to where you probably need to deal with those rather than, yelling on Twitter about the fact that he hasn't earned the nickname. Ryan Fitzpatrick's been in the league for over a decade. He should have it. Like, really? You really care that much about it? Ryan Fitzpatrick doesn't even know who you are. And you're out here defending it. And I don't even think Ryan Fitzpatrick cares enough to even bat an eye on it. But you do? You guys are embarrassing. I mean, it's ridiculous. I don't understand why fans get so caught up in things that don't have anything to do with them. Like, I get everyone has an opinion, but that doesn't mean you got to give it every time. No one wants to hear it. This is my 2 cents there. Is Mike Tomlin on the hot seat? And I think he should be. And that's a little legitimate question. Is he on the hot seat? I mean, how is he not? I don't think he's going to get fired in the middle of the season or anything like that because the Steelers really don't run their organization that way. They're not the Cleveland Browns. I mean, give them a break. But you look at it, and Antonio Brown didn't show up yesterday. And there's been reports, Mike Freeman of Bleacher Report wrote an article about it yesterday, that he's basically lost the locker room. And Mike Tomlin is one of the 5 best coaches in the league. I will give him that, definitely. But if you think about it, he's had a Hall of Fame caliber running back on his team, a Hall of Fame caliber receiver on his team, Hall of Fame quarterback on his team, and only 1 Super Bowl to show for it. And even then, that Super Bowl he didn't even have with Le'Veon Bell. And I don't think Antonio Brown was much of a thing at that time, or even with the team. But you look at it, he's underachieved with the team he currently has. They don't really go to AFC championships or anything like that. And, soon enough, Le'Veon will be gone. Ben will be another year older. Antonio Brown will still be there. But when you got guys not showing up and reports coming out about how you've lost the locker room, I'm sorry, if you don't make the playoffs, then we got to get rid of you. Especially considering everything else, too. Like I said, the last few years with them just getting bounced in the wild card round or the divisional round. Last year, losing in Pittsburgh to Jacksonville. I get Jacksonville was a very good team. But the fact that you gave up, 45 points to them? That's not great. And the Steelers have always had problems on defense under Mike Tomlin. Nothing's really gotten fixed. The guy I think was a DB's coach at one point in time, and Pittsburgh has just had the worst secondary in the league for years. I was thinking maybe Fitzpatrick on Monday night has a bad game finally, but how could he? It's as if I'm playing back there. Fitzpatrick's going to go off Monday night, and I can't wait for it. I also can't wait for that Thursday night game tomorrow, too. We got Jets and Browns. I never thought I'd say I was excited for a Jets and Browns game, and I'm really hoping I'm not disappointed. But, you look at it. You got Darnold. Tyrod. Josh Gordon isn't there anymore. You got Callaway, who's pretty good, though. Jarvis Landry. That's besides the point. We're getting off topic. But, yeah, you look at it. If he's truly lost the locker room and he doesn't have any control there, then you got to get rid of the guy if you don't make the playoffs. And I'm not so sure that Pittsburgh does make the playoffs. Have they shown you anything within the first 2 weeks that shows that, yes, we're a team who can... We're still one of the best teams in the AFC? That's not the case at all. I'm not even sure that they beat Tampa Bay on Monday, and I'm not even sure if I'd pick them to win on Monday. And I don't think I am going to pick them. And the Steelers have had a good run, but I think Tomlin gave these players a little too much leeway. I think it was last year where you had Antonio Brown periscoping a post-game team talk and all that. And one thing about Antonio Brown, too, I'm not mad at it or anything like that, but he's way too social media heavy right here. And it's honestly, it's like how you see it on TV as far as the TV shows and all with football players. They overdo it, and Antonio Brown is overdoing it here. And maybe it's just a marketing thing, a way to get him out there. I've only seen businesses booming about 10 million times tweeted from him. But I think there's a point where you got to grow up a bit, put the phone down, and go to work. And I don't necessarily have a problem with him being on social media and all that, but the whole interacting with fans who are calling you out and all that. Like, can we have some thicker skin, please? Are you really that soft? Honestly, are you really that soft? The guy that's tweeting at you probably has no ounce of athleticism in his body, and you feel the need to tweet back at him. And I guess I'm kind of contradicting myself here because I have no problem with Kevin Durant going at other people, but I've never hid the fact that I think Kevin Durant is soft too. And if you're just soft and you get your feelings hurt easily, then go right ahead and go at these fans all you want. But, I mean, this is the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it's making them look bad. So it's a matter of whether or not Antonio Brown cares. And how are you not going to show up for work on Monday? I mean, that's kind of putting yourself above the team at that point. And I will say this, no player is above their team. No player is above their sport besides Serena Williams and Tiger Woods. For you golf fans out there and tennis fans who don't like that statement, it's true. Your sport doesn't really matter too much. Your sport wouldn't really be talked about if it wasn't for Serena Williams or Tiger Woods. That's just the way it is. Disagree all you want. I mean, you're wrong. But, yeah, I do have a problem with Antonio Brown not showing up on Monday. I mean, I get that it's kind of toxic over there in that locker room. And I'm usually all for players' decisions and all that. Like, I still don't hate Vontae Davis I don't hate Vontae Davis for retiring at halftime for the Bills, mainly because it's a funny story to talk about, but also if you just feel like this isn't what you want to do and you can't do it anymore, then don't do it. But, like I said, I mean, this Steelers team is all out of whack. It's something like we've never, like I said, we're seeing all these tight, close organizations start to leak out stuff, and they're not leaking so tight and close anymore. And I think, I can't remember who I saw this from or whatnot, but there's some book coming out about Bill Belichick's life, I think, or something like that. And it's talking about how Tom Brady thought about in March whether or not he wanted to keep going with the Patriots. I saw the words divorce and Bill Belichick a whole bunch, and I think we got to calm down a bit on these New England Patriots stories. Like, I get you guys want to ride them for clicks and all that, but can we please do better? I think it's kind of lazy journalism at this point. Because, I mean, the Patriots, you could tell, don't really have any problems right now. And if it's in-house, then it's in-house. I mean, you can't tell by looking at it, oh, yeah, these guys have problems and all that. But we'll see what ends up happening. Looking like Joe Mixon has a slightly torn meniscus. And Joe Mixon actually said that. And that's not great for my fantasy team. I mean, the report was that he'd be out for maybe a couple games. And if you got like a slight tear in your meniscus, I figure that you probably won't be out there for a few weeks. I guess he injured his knee on Thursday night. We saw he was kind of limping around, left the game a few times. Again, it doesn't help my fantasy team, but I mean, I could care less if the guy is hurt. Nothing you can really do about that. And a lot of you guys should take a page out of that book too. Stop complaining about players being mad or players being injured on your fantasy team. Like me, I'm complaining about it right now, but it's a joke. I actually don't care. I actually would rather Joe Mixon get healthy and all that. I could care less about my fantasy team. I drafted Le'Veon Bell, and he hasn't even played. It is what it is. Your fantasy team isn't that important. And if you put money in it and that's why you're frustrated, that's your own fault. No one cares. But, yeah, Mixon has a slight tear in his meniscus. Got a little procedure done on it. Not sure when he'll be back, but it seems, I mean, like I said, from reports, maybe 3 games, possibly 4. I saw 2 earlier, but I'm not sure you can return 2 games after you have a torn meniscus. So, we'll see what ends up happening with the rest of the NFL. But either way, next segment, I will be talking about anything else going on in the world of sports. So, stay tuned, and I will be right back.
The average SUV has 2 blind spots, weighs between 4,000 and 6,000 pounds, and takes about 6 seconds to stop. Remember this the next time you're on foot. Pay attention, people. Pedestrians don't have armor. A message from the California Office of Traffic Safety.
All right, And welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. Spent that first segment talking Jimmy Butler, second segment talking MLB, third segment talking about NFL news. And now we move on to talk about anything else going on in the world of sports. We'll stick with the NFL for a moment. John Gruden, do you think he is being serious when he talks to the media in his press conferences about pass rushers and all that? Do you think he's just messing with us, or do you think he's really just that dumb? Legitimate question, too. John Gruden told media at his press conference today that it's difficult to find pass rushers. Literally said that. It's difficult to find solid pass rushers. I mean, he's got to be messing with us at this point, right? Like, there's no way. There's no way the guy is being serious. Absolutely zero chance. I mean, come on now. You're really going to go out and say that? He's got to know what he's doing. There's no way the guy is that clueless. And obviously, you guys know I'm referring to him trading Khalil Mack, but I don't know. This Raiders team is a dumpster fire. I'm already giving them that term right now. I mean, they're going to lose to Miami on Sunday. I'm not even sure who they're playing after that. I'm assuming it's the Chargers. They'll probably lose that game too. I mean, the Raiders are just a bad team to begin with. I like Derek Carr. I think he's a good quarterback. But the guy has nothing around him that excites me at all. Nothing that has me put faith in this team. I mean, if I'm Derek Carr, I got to find my way out of Oakland somehow, some way. And the poor guy signed a long-term extension a couple years ago. So that's probably not going to happen. So I guess he's stuck in the abyss of the Oakland Raiders. And shout out John Gruden. Okay, everyone thought he was going to bring the old Raiders back, and oh boy, did he. But he brought the Raiders from 2004 to about up until they drafted Derek Carr back. Not the 2000 Raiders, the 2001 Raiders, 1999 Raiders. He brought the bad Raiders back. He brought the Al Davis drafts Darius Hayward Bay Raiders back. And no disrespect to Al Davis, may he rest in peace. But, I mean, the guy just never really made good personnel decisions when he was running the show out there in Oakland. So, I just wanted to mention that. Again, the guy has no self-awareness. Talking about John Gruden. I get that he was entertaining in the Monday Night Football booth, and maybe we should have just left him there. Either way, though, let's take a look at the Champions League scores from this past week, Tuesday and Wednesday. Yesterday, we had Barcelona playing PSV. I mean, PSV did well to hold their own for most of the match, and then Barcelona just broke it open later on. Like, pretty much after Dembele's goal, that was it. We had Messi scoring a free kick in the 31st, and I was watching that. You pretty much just look, and you're not really expecting much. You're just going to think, oh yeah, Messi's going to score this, and we'll move on with our lives. And that's exactly what happened. He scored in the 31st, ended up finishing the game with a hat-trick with goals in the 77th minute and the 87th minute. Like I said, you had to go from Dembele, Ousmane Dembele. He ended up receiving the ball, and two defenders are coming from his left and right. They try to get it. He flicks it behind him, turns around, takes it down a little way down towards the box, and ends up scoring a beautiful goal there. No goals from PSV. Herman Lozano was the big story before the match for PSV, given there's been interest from Barcelona there. Inter beat Tottenham. Tottenham pulled a Tottenham. I mean, it's ridiculous how this team is consistent in the point where they just disappoint when it matters most. We saw that in the Champions League last year against Juventus, and we constantly see it every year in the Premier League. But you had Tottenham scoring in the 53rd minute off a fluke goal by Christian Eriksen. Not Eriksen scoring it, but the way he did. And then you got Mauro Icardi scoring, I mean, probably the best goal of the night, I'd say. I didn't like Dembele's, given he had to do some dribbling and all that. But Icardi's, I mean, they got crossed into the top of the box, and he one-time volleys it into the back of the net. And then you had Vecino scoring with a header in the 92nd minute. I mean, it's crazy how Tottenham just gives it up like that. And I don't understand why Trippier and Alderweireld weren't there. Then you had Diego Costa and Jose Maria Jimenez scoring for Atletico Madrid. Those two goals gave them the 2-1 win against Monaco. Dortmund beat Club Brugge. You had Pulisic scoring one of those fluke goals also on his 20th birthday. I mean, of course, he's credited with the goal, and he made a difference. But there was one where the defender, I think, tried clearing it out, or something happened. But anyway, it bounced off of Pulisic and into the back of the net. Then you had Galatasaray beating Lokomotiv Moscow. I think I made my picks on the GSMC Soccer podcast, but I think I called it a draw. I know I got the Tottenham one wrong, so I think I'm 3-1 so far. Yeah, 3-1 so far. Then I had Galatasaray winning, so that's 4-1. I was wrong about Liverpool. I mean, that was probably the best game of the day. No, it was the best game of the day. I will say that. I mean, I underestimated Liverpool. I thought that PSG's quality on that team would be much better, meaning that would help them get past Liverpool. That didn't happen. I don't regret my pick, but I was wrong for thinking Liverpool would lose. I guess that's just the way it goes, huh? And let me see if I can take a look at PSG's starting 11 there also. I mean, let's see if I can find that out real quick. Let me see standings. Look at PSG real quick. And PSG, they came back to, I think Liverpool were up 2-0 at one point. You had goals from Daniel. Yeah, they were up 2-0. You had Daniel's third scoring, I can't pronounce my words today. Daniel's third scoring in the 30th minute, Milner scoring in the 36th off a penalty. Then you had Thomas Meunier scoring in the 40th minute, Mbappe tying it up in the 83rd, and then Firmino coming off the bench and scoring in the 91st minute. And that was a great goal also there. So looking at the lineups for that game, PSG went with Neymar, Cavani, Mbappe, and then Di Maria, Marquinhos, Rebo behind them. Bernat, Kimpembe, Silva, and Meunier in the back, along with Areola playing keeper. Like I said, great game there. Napoli, I mean, I don't know how they didn't get a goal against Red Star Belgrade, but nonetheless drew 0-0 there. Porto and Schalke drew 1-1. And looking at the matches today that just finished up right now. Ajax beat Athens 3-0. You had Shakhtar and Hoffenheim drawing 2-2. Bayern beat Benfica 2-0. You had Manchester City actually losing to Lyon 2-1. Madrid beat Roma 3-0. I mean, Madrid is so much more fun to watch when Ronaldo isn't there. That's just facts. Speaking of Ronaldo, he picked up a red card in the 29th minute for Juventus. That didn't hurt them, though. You had Pjanic scoring 2 penalties in this one. 2-0 win against Valencia for Juventus. Victoria Plzen drew 2-2 with CSK Moscow. And then you had Manchester United winning 3-1 against Young Boys. Pogba, a good goal in the 35th minute. Scored a penalty in the 44th. And then you had Martial scoring in the 66th. Crazy what happens when you play Anthony Martial, isn't it, Jose Mourinho? And I think that's pretty much all that's going on right now in the world. Let's see, are there any other big stories we need to talk about? I mean, Jimmy Butler, I think, has been the biggest story of the day so far. In the NBA, did me a big favor. I got the GSMC basketball podcast I'm going to be recording a little bit later on. I'm going to be spending a lot of that podcast talking about that. Aaron Rodgers talked about his knee. He talked about him playing with a hurt knee. He thinks that it can get worse throughout the season. And, if you're playing with an injury, I know it's a weird concept and all, but, playing with an injury, it's not necessarily going to heal every time you play. Chances are, and again, crazy concept, but chances are your knee's going to get worse if you continue to play with it hurt. But I guess if you're Aaron Rodgers, you kind of do that. Got to do that at this point. Deshaun Kaiser isn't going to win you a lot of games. I do think he's a better quarterback than Brett Hundley. But we've seen that this Packers team is a lost cause without Aaron Rodgers. And I think they'd be a lost cause without him this year. So it's a matter of, if Aaron Rodgers wants to miss a couple weeks, he can do that. But for as many weeks as he misses, that will be as many losses as they add. So it's kind of like a, what do you want to do here type of thing. But we'll see what ends up happening with him. Like I said, biggest story of the day is Jimmy Butler requesting for a trade. The 3 teams he wants to be traded to, or each of the 3 teams are the Clippers, Nets, and Knicks. Knicks have no business trading for Jimmy Butler. Just wait till he's a free agent next offseason. The Nets, you don't really have any first-round picks that you should be giving up, so stay put there. Clippers, I could see happening. But we'll see what ends up happening. They don't necessarily have to trade him, but the season does start within 27 days, so it's a matter of, do you want an unhappy player on your roster to start the season? I'm not so sure. But we're going to wrap it up here. Like I said, today we talked Jimmy Butler. Second segment, we talked MLB news. Tonight we got David Price going up against Luis Severino. Third segment, we talked NFL news, and then for this fourth segment, we talked about a few different sports topics. So thanks for listening to the GSMC Sports Podcast. As always, I am your host, Jesse Tapia. I will be back tomorrow, so stay tuned, and I will talk to you guys later.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.